Housekeeping was a feature film shot in Nelson. It started in September of 1986 and finished in December. Christine Lottie, pictured here, is the lead star, along with actress Sarah Walker. The crew, at this point, was setting up for a shot outside of the old K.F.P site in Palm Dairies. Michael Coulter, director of photography, stands behind the camera. He moves up to oversee the scene. He has an important artistic contribution to this film: the lighting, overall look of the film, and framing, composition, everything. This man here, the second assistant camera operator, moves up with a filter to the first assistant camera operator in the black and white tube. First assistant camera operator's main duties are to oversee the threading of the film every time the film magazine is changed on the back of the camera, and to pull focus on the camera as the shots are being taken. The second assistant camera operator keeps track of the film inside of each film magazine. He's the one who claps the slate or the clapboard before each take and marks them. At the end of the day, he'll take the rushes, that is the film that's been shot that day, down to make sure that it's shipped off quickly and sent to the labs in Vancouver, where dailies or rushes can be sent back to the crew for observation. They're readying the camera for this man here, the camera operator, who's taking a light reading and changes the aperture on the camera so that the exposure is correct. Late afternoons in winter, the light goes down quickly and you have to do that frequently as the shot is being prepared.
Kenny, you!
Clapboard or slate. The boom man moves up into position with the boom mic. The microphone's encased in a windscreen so that the wind doesn't affect the sound. Camera operator makes some last-minute adjustments here and has a stand-in walk toward the camera just as the actress will do in the shot. Stand-ins are picked for their physical resemblance to the actresses. Bill Forsyth, director of Gregory's Hero and Local Hero. Both films won awards for screenwriting, and he was the screenwriter in each case. The assistant director in the background tries to make the whole crew more efficient. He looks for ways to speed everybody up.
Okay, let's shoot this anyway.
Boom man adjusts his microphone here, or his boom. He'll point the microphone at the wall behind him in a moment to make sure that the reflected sound off the building doesn't interfere with his audio recording. Bill Forsyth moves up for a last-minute conference with the actors. His two child stars, Sarah Walker and Andrea Burchell, with her face toward the camera, have had no professional experience before this feature film.
Okay, stand by.
It must be exciting for them. And Bill moves up to talk to actress Christine Lottie, who has starred in such films as And Justice for All with Al Pacino, Whose Life Is It Anyway with Richard Dreyfuss, Swing Shift with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, and the soon-to-be-released Stacking with Frederick Forrest. The grip in the background takes another load of snowballs up to another place in the shot. Christine, during this shot, throws snowballs to a pack of dogs.
Okay, you okay, Vince? Okay, lock up the traffic, guys.
The shot was completed without any major problems. Due to copyright protection, we were not allowed to record any of the action being filmed. This still photo was taken at the same location earlier in the season. We turn now to an interview by local media with the director Bill Forsyth and producer Robert Colesberry.
Okay, Mr. Forsyth, departure from your usual lighthearted comedy. Did you find it more of a challenge, and did you enjoy the work?
I enjoyed it very much. I suppose the most enjoyable thing was having someone else's story to work from. So it kind of took that burden away from me, having to think up the story. And also I just tried to find as many, not funny, but as many serious, funny things in it, because that's really the reason I was interested in the books, was because it struck me that it was a perfect kind of blend of a very kind of serious, dramatic subject and a very humorous slant on it, and that was in the novel, although it wasn't kind of staring in the face in the novel, but there was a certain amount of comedy in the novel that I tried to kind of get into the film.
Did Christine Lottie manage to achieve that kind of serious comedy as well as Diane Keaton would have, do you think?
Yes, I think she did a superb job, and I think, in fact, she did a better job than Diane Keaton would have done, because, in fact, Diane Keaton couldn't embrace the character, and that's why she couldn't do it, because she couldn't kind of open up to the character enough to realise it, and so the very fact that she couldn't do it meant that Christine did it better. And apart from that, if they were running neck and neck, I would say that Christine would have made a better job of it, because she's been superb, and she'd had the ability to embrace the character completely and not be afraid of the character and all the because dealing with a character like Sylvie, who is in some ways very eccentric and possibly mad, is a very brave thing for an actress to do, and so it's bravery as much as skill and talent that Christine brought to the character.
How about your following? You have quite a strong following, and it's mainly because of your style of your previous films. Do you think some of them may not go for this film because it's different? It is a more dramatic sense.
It's possible, yes, but in that case, it doesn't really worry me to any extent, I must say. I don't quite know what a following is. I mean, what is a following? Maybe more people follow this one, I don't know. I've only made one film so far that's made any money, so I don't know what a following is.
Okay. How about shooting in Canada with Canadian crew?
It's been great, it's been very good, yeah. I said great, see, I'm turning into a Canadian. I say great all the time now.
Say A.
Yeah, I say that as well. But it has been great. In fact, I said great before I came here. We say it in Scotland as well. I think Canadians must have stole it from Scotland, that A and great.
Do you think you'd return to Canada for another film?
I would, yeah, very, very much so, yeah. And if it was a situation where I had any choice in the matter, I think I would choose to shoot a film here rather than in the States. If it was a matter of a film which could be shot either in the States or here, I think I would try and bring it here.
Why is that?
Well, because I've spent the best part of a year here working on this film, and I feel very much at home here, and it feels very much like working at home. The same scale of things, the same pace, the same everything. And the people, I put people offset, the people, just the communities seem very familiar to me.
How about taking on the two young girls, two newcomers who are not familiar with working with film? It's been a challenge in itself.
It is a challenge, and it's one of these things that you only realise when it's finished how much of a gamble it was, and how you could have, things could have been disastrous. And it amazes me how much faith that you put into things at a certain stage. But that's the way it is with movies. You have to take gambles all the time. And with the girls, the gamble paid off. They were both superb and naturally talented, and so it wasn't a matter of having to work hard at making them good. They just brought a lot to it. And Christine was a terrific help with the girls. She coached them and was almost like a co-director on some occasions. So she was giving them insights that an actress could give them, which were very difficult for me to give. So she was a terrific help in that respect. But it was a gamble, and it paid off.
Were there any major disappointments for you during this film, or major difficulties aside from the trouble with CP Rail?
Well, it's not really fair to say it was a more of a problem in this film than any film, but the weather is always a problem. And in this case, we were really up against it because we had a 2-month schedule, and we were trying to create 4 seasons in 2 months. And so we were really putting Nelson to the test. we came here in September, and we were trying to film scenes which took place in April, May, June, July, August, November and December. And so that it has been problematical working around the weather, but I think we managed to do it.
Nelson passed the test?
When I woke up this morning and I saw the snow, I felt very, very disappointed in Nelson. I thought, why couldn't it have snowed a week ago? But,
yeah.
But we scraped through. Yeah, we scraped through. In fact, thinking on it, it would have been worse if a month ago we were dying for snow, but if it had started to snow a month ago and stayed, we probably would have been in as much trouble, if not more, than we eventually were in. Because in a sense, it was easier to truck in 20 loads of snow rather than, vanish a whole town of snow if we had too much snow.
Mr. Colesberry, I understand the budget for the film was increased during the filming process. If that's right, is that a sign of the studio's faith in the quality of the film itself?
Yeah, yes, I would say naturally. Our budget did increase on a percentage basis that much. I think the studio was behind us, and as a result of seeing the dailies, which they eventually started to see once a week, I think they gained a lot of confidence in the work that we were doing, and certainly showed a lot of faith in us. And I think, increasing the budget, putting the stop on money is certainly can work in a detrimental way. If you're in the middle of filming and all of a sudden you cut out the money, you're actually, hurting the picture in the long run. So, our increase in the budget was very minimal, and I think it came as a result of Bill had mentioned weather, and we got a little bit behind in the beginning because of weather, and just the logistical nature of the script. It's a terribly difficult script when you may read simply, but when you start to get down to all the fine logistics and all the detail that has to be applied to this script and this story. For instance, building this bridge, and the scene we just came from takes place in 1929 on a frozen lake, and you see, from being down there, what we had to do to sort of arrive at that. It's flooding out the house was another, very difficult thing to do, in which, actors have to concentrate and work, and especially first-time actors have to work, and standing in 6 or 7 or 8 inches of water, along with the crew trying to move around and lights being set. It's, I think overall that the studio recognized that and certainly gave us more than ample support, and steadfastly have been right with us. I'm sure Bill can confirm that.
Do you think it'll be a success at the box office?
If I was able to be a soothsayer, I don't know. It's extremely difficult what the public is attracted to as far as box office. It's my personal taste. I love the movie very much, but I don't know if people are going to flock to it or not.
Mr. Forsyth, Christine Laddie, I guess, was nominated for an Academy Award for her performance in Swing Shift. Do you think the work she did in this film was up to that caliber?
Yeah, I would say that it's beyond that caliber, because she was sustaining the whole movie, as well as I say, keeping the two young girls alive as characters, because I say she was giving them tremendous support on a scene-to-scene basis, but she sustains the whole movie as a character. And the film changes as she changes, really. So she did a much harder job than she did in Swing Shift.
So considering the quality of the script, you wouldn't be surprised if she was nominated again?
Personally, I would nominate her, but I have no idea what the criteria for being nominated. The people in the Academy aren't the real film community. It's very difficult to say. I have no idea. I would, just on sheer worth, yes, I would think she would get a nomination. And I think also kind of sentimentally that probably the time is right for Christine, in a way. So it wouldn't surprise me if she got a nomination for a lead nomination, certainly not a supporting nomination.
Great.
In the final product, we can hear a lot of voiceovers from reading the book and looking at the amount of dialogue in the book. There's a heck of a lot, or did you take a lot of the stuff that was...
There's quite a lot of narration in the script. And funnily enough, watching the film now, it really does seem like a story that's being told by someone. because the way the scenes have ended up, a lot of them, it seems to be that they're almost observed in a kind of tableau-esque way. And so I think the voiceover is going to be very important, and I think it will be quite an entertaining thing, because it seems to be that the film has turned out to be a film that is being told by someone. And even in scenes where there's dialogue and where there isn't any voiceover, you still feel that someone has, in a funny way, presented this scene to you. Someone has set it up for you to listen to and observe. And I think it will be one of the things, and it'll be it's certainly an element of the entertainment in it, that it will seem like a story that's being told. And that was always an ambition that I had for the film, that it would seem like the book, because I didn't have any other ambition for the film beyond allowing the people to get the enjoyment that I got from reading the book. So in a way I haven't changed it in any other direction. I've just tried to technically take the book and turn it into a film and try and keep the same sense of entertainment and enjoyment that there was in the book and the film. Even with the kind of device of the narrative, the narration. And in a funny way, I think that's going to work, you know.
What's your next project?
I'm hoping to make a film in Scotland next year, which should be set in Wales, but at the moment I'm trying to talk the producer into filming it in Scotland. It's set in the 19th century, so Scotland could quite easily pass for 19th century Wales, I think. It's from a script that Dylan Thomas wrote in 1940 for Gainsborough Studios.
Called?
It's called Rebecca's Daughters, and it's a yarn. It's a comedy.
I guess along the lines of some of the other work you've done then.
Yes, it's a yarn. It's a real yarn. Lots of characters, lots of funny characters, lots of strange goings on. Most of it happens at night time in the snow, so we're back to square one. Same as housekeeping.
What about you, Mr. Colesberry? What's your next project?
Right now, I don't have anything in the immediate future that's not in real development right now. It's just I have a lot of potential scripts that are floating out there, but nothing concrete as far as.
But we'll be working on this until May, eh?
Yeah.
So it'll take until May to finish housekeeping.
You're going to play a big role in the editing.
Just the normal kind of role that the director would take, which is maybe, to supervise, certainly, yeah. But it's something that I quite enjoy. The hours are better. You can come in at 10. And you can go out and get the coffee and the lunches and things like that, so you get lots of time off.
On CBC radio, you heard an interview, you said that because of the process of trying to get a film funded, that actually right now you prefer working on a comedy. I wonder if you could elaborate on that. You want me to go flesh that out a little more?
Yeah, it was because it was easier to finance a comedy. Is that what I meant?
I think it was more along the lines of how long it takes to get a project going. You have the idea, you have the book, you have the material.
Well, certainly on this one, it's taken like 2 years. But even that's not long, funnily enough, is it? That's kind of average.
No,
2 or 3 years is quite average. But certainly, I'm looking forward to working on a comedy next time around. I must say that, yeah. Maybe because I've spent too long with housekeeping, I've spent like 2.5, 3 years with it. And maybe that's what I meant. I think I meant that I've spent so long with this that I'd quite like just to do something where the aim was more direct. Like with comedy, you just try and make everything as funny as possible. And with this, there was so many ways that it could go and so much thinking involved in it. So maybe, yeah. I mean, it'd be quite easy to, have fun making a comedy, whereas this was quite hard work.
In this, how can you go into that a little bit more? How was it hard work? Was it sustaining the serious side of it, or?
Well, first of all, just taking things out, just determining what things should be in the film that were in the book and what shouldn't be in, and then constantly re-evaluating that. Even as you film something, you go home that night and think, should I have filmed that, or should I have filmed something else? Or is it too late to change? Is it too late to start filming something else?
That takes me to another question. How much of it was, how closely did you follow the script that you started out with, or did you end up
Well, there's a certain point where the logistics takes over, and that's why there's a constant tension in filming, because you're being impelled to film the things that are in the script at a certain pace, and at the same time you're questioning yourself about whether the film should be changing more and whether you should be going for more detail or more character development. And so, as well as trying to keep to the schedule, you're thinking maybe I should be filming other things entirely. And so that's why every day is a kind of challenge. Like when I went down there yesterday morning, stood beside the bridge, I had to ask myself why I wanted this in the film and what I wanted from it. But I use the script as a kind of reference a great deal, as a kind of security thing, because I just put faith in the fact that at one point I put everything in the script because at a certain time it was very important to me and it had a reason for being there. And even if I can't recall the reason, I would go and I would instinctively follow the logic of the script if I felt in doubt at any time. Because you have a much cooler head when you're writing a script, and the things are probably there for more secure reasons than things you would invent.
So did the locations that you were shooting in give some create a mood or a change? In other words, some
yes, they
idea
do.
How you want to change it?
They do, yeah, and even in every sense of the word. I mean, even characters, even the extras yesterday, things developed out of the extras. So, seeing the people who actually turned up and what to do with them, and so certain stories evolved just from the people, the way the people turned up and how they were dressed and how they were organised. We had a little girl on a sled who wandered beside the hole in the ice, and the railwayman shooed her away, and various things happened just because I saw the extras coming out of the bus, and they began to look like real people, and so we kind of used them as real people. And that happens in every level. You turn up to a location and it does something. Something comes out of it.
Okay.
But in a funny way, this is a kind of expensive film that was made cheaply because that was the only way it would have been made.
Mm.
It wouldn't have been financed as an expensive film, but it should have been. It should have been maybe an $8 or $9 million picture. But it would have been impossible to finance it that way.
Are you satisfied with the quality you got for $7 million?
Oh, yeah. Because it would have been impossible. Because it wouldn't have been made as a $9 million picture.
Mm.
And if it had been made, it wouldn't have been made. It wouldn't have been the same picture because then the studio would have had more influence on it and wanted more from it.
Mm.
So it wouldn't have been made. So it's a kind of
Yeah. We at one point during the financing stages, being talked about trying to do it for $3 million. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, we just both said at one point it just could not be done. I mean, we would rather not make the film than try to put ourselves into a corner where you couldn't do half the things you wanted to do because there's no sense in it. Because this is really a type of film that really very, very much requires having all the seasonal time periods in it, having all the having the flooded house, having the bridge, having all this, having the Sylvia and Ruth go out on the lake, and how important these things are. And these things, to do these things, it takes time and material and money. And to try to shortcut any other way of not having a house and flooding out the house, it would just not be the same script. Wouldn't even be close.
Mm.
Along those lines, when you're going to find the money, the funding, which I assume took 2 years, or where it is after you had the original idea or the script, how do you sell? What kind of reaction did you get when you took this particular property to them and said that I know it doesn't have blockbuster qualities, it's not going to be an adventure series or something like that. It is a different genre than what is, quote, making money on the market today. It seems like.
It was very difficult to finance it. It wasn't financed on its own merits in terms of how people assessed it in the studios, and the fact it was turned down by. We spent a year. It was turned down by every studio, and even people who were keen to read it. I mean, we had 2 or 3 studios who had read the novel and were keen to read the script, and then subsequently, just didn't answer the phone after they received the script, basically. That went on for about a year. Mm-hmm.
We had other people trying to talk us into what kind of poster it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult script to put across to a studio person, anyway.
So what happens? The studio will finally decide, yes, I think they'll go with it. I guess first of all, they approve the combination of director and producer, and then you say who you're going to have as some of the key talent.
Yeah, I think.
Well, I think
the total package. That's when they say,
Yeah.
all right, okay.
I think we only got as far as we did with Canon because Diane Keaton was involved in it. And Canon Pictures, who are a kind of Black Alley company, and at least that's how they perceive themselves, and that's how everyone else perceives them. So maybe they are, but they're desperately, well, it's a continuing process of trying to upgrade their own image or their own self-image. And so if they make a movie, even if it's a loss leader, is that what they call it? Where they don't intend to, or they don't expect to make money, but if they receive any kudos from employing someone like Diane Keaton, then they get involved in it, and that's the reason that Canon were involved in it, because they wanted some kudos for their company. And in a funny way, they got it, because as soon as they agreed to make the picture, they took out ads, huge ads, all over town and all over Cannes last year, saying they were making this film with Diane Keaton. So in fact, they got something out of it, even though they didn't in the end make the movie. In fact, I think they lost interest after they had put out these posters. So
she had committed herself to the project.
She was committed to the project until September of this year.
And whatever reason she backed out.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, you still had funding? You could still continue with some?
When she backed out, the funding went as well.
Backed out as well.
Oh.
So in 2 weeks, we recast and refinanced the film. And that was in late August this year.
How do you manage that when it took 2 years or a year before that?
We were very, very lucky.
Very lucky. Extremely.
That's why I don't complain about the weather too much. Because we were very lucky in other ways.
I think we did, in record time, turn the project around. I mean, where we, I think, only lost about maybe a couple of weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, because we actually had a staff of the art department was working, and
So
they were prepping for about 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Costumer, things were happening, and then all of a sudden, Bill came to New York to talk to Diane, and then the next thing, one fateful weekend, we didn't have a lead, and I think within a week,
The money was gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it all turned out for the best. I mean,
yeah,
Christine is. I mean, I just count my blessings when I think of how the film could have been.
Mm-hmm.
If we had gone with Diane Keaton, and B, if we had been with Canon, we wouldn't be here today.
No, I think not.
We would have wrapped a fortnight.
We would have,
half the film with Canon.
Trying to pick up the pieces.
We were very, very fortunate.
Is this a first time working with Canadian film crews?
Yeah.
And do you have any comments about
They're superb. I mean, they're just like the people I work with at home. It's just, that's one reason I feel very comfortable here. I'm still waiting to find. I mean, it's very odd because I was expecting it to be different. Being away from home, and I'm still waiting to find out what the difference is because it doesn't feel any different.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a funny feeling. I got to pinch myself sometimes to make sure I'm not at home in Scotland.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that most of the crew was from BC. I wasn't sure how much.
Yeah, most of them are from Vancouver, yeah.
And everyone's concerned in the province because the industry is just starting to get rolling, that the professionalism of the crews meets the standard that the producers and directors.
Yeah, I think that's certainly there, and that the difference between a feature film where you've got 9-10 weeks to film and a TV movie, which is what most of the BC crews have tended to work on, is a difference in attitude and a difference in pace and all that. And that's once they've had 2 or 3 more movies, and so they can get used to the change of pace and then go from one pace to the other. Then they'll be rolling. They'll be perfect. I think that's the only thing that's been missing is I think BC crews have been used in that way, not badly because it's been experienced, but they've been what's the word? They've been people have come up here and used them. Yeah, the word is used because American producers have normally turned up here because it was cheaper or quicker. And so the crews haven't had, even if that's on a low-budget TV movie, and even on a big-budget movie, they've come here because it was cheaper. And with a big-budget movie, they probably worked at a pace, they worked at a different pace, but at the same time, they had so much money that they didn't notice the difference in the pace because the money was taking care of things. But in a film like ours, where it's a very tight budget, and at the same time, you're still trying to keep the pace of a large movie and keep all the detail and keep all the attention to detail in the movie. That's something that with experience the crews will be able to cope with. But I don't think too many movies like ours have been here. They've either been very low budget TV movies that they shoot in 3 weeks, or very, very big budget movies.
I wasn't sure if I caught all that. You're saying that they were not able to change pace, or they weren't able to work fast?
It's just a difference in pace because shooting an hour and a half in 3 weeks is one thing, and then shooting an hour and a half in 10 weeks is another thing. And it's obviously difficult for people to adjust, but they've adjusted superbly. But as I say, this is the first time I think they've had to adjust. I don't think they've ever been in a situation like this before, where they've had a low budget movie in 10 weeks. They've had a low budget movie in 3 weeks, or a big budget movie in 10 weeks. But they hadn't had a low budget movie in 10 weeks. So that's what they've coped with.
I think the quality of the work you have to do with a low budget feature, there's so many demands on detail. I mean, a big budget feature, and I have worked on some, as Bill says, you can cover it up with money and the pacing. If you fall behind 5 days in the first week, nobody seems to get jolted by it. Here, it's very detrimental to us if we even start to fall half a day behind. Everything sort of snowballs, and it has its effect. But yet you can't. You want to preserve the quality of the film, so you don't want to rush it to a point where compared to a TV movie, when you have 3 weeks, that people will just accept and compromise at every turn. You'll take two takes and print 2, and you'll walk away and you'll move on to the next setup. I think here, and I can only speak for myself, I just think that we did get, and I hope Bill got what he wanted before he ever walked away from a setup, whether it took 27 takes. And
that was just once.
Why did that stick in my mind?
Why did that stick in your mind? That was the very first day.
I thought we were in trouble.